In the last 18 months, Malaysia approved over 12,000 Millionaire visa applications. That's more than Dubai and Portugal combined. But here's what's strange. They're not just running from something, they're running to something the media won't talk about. If you've ever wondered where the ultra-wealthy disappear to when things get unstable, this video will show you exactly what they know that you don't. And by the end, you'll understand why financial advisors are calling this the last golden ticket before the door slams shut. But wait. Before we begin, please subscribe to ensure that you never miss out on any of my essential stuff. Comment, "I subscribe," below, and I will personally welcome you to our community. With that said, let's get started. Meet David Chen, 42 years old. Silicon Valley tech entrepreneur who sold his AI startup for $47 million in 2023. He should have been celebrating, right? Instead, he was staring at a tax bill that made him physically sick. $18.9 million. Nearly 40% of everything he'd worked a decade to build, gone to California state and federal taxes. That's when a wealth manager friend whispered two words that changed everything: Malaysia and territorial tax system. 3 months later, David was approved for Malaysia's MM2H visa. His tax on that $47 million from foreign sources? Zero. Not reduced. Not deferred. Zero. Legally. Forever. And he's not alone. According to Henley & Partners' 2024 Wealth Migration Report, Malaysia saw a 157% spike in high-net-worth individual applications between 2022 and 2024. While Europe is dismantling golden visa programs and countries like Portugal are slamming the door, Malaysia quietly became the number 3 destination for millionaire migration in all of Asia. David told me something chilling. The tax advantage was just the entry point. What happened after I arrived made me call my entire network and tell them to get on a plane. Immediately. So what did he discover? That's where this gets really interesting. There's a visa program so underpriced that wealth advisors are whispering about it in private client meetings. They're calling it arbitrage. The financial gap between what you pay and what you get is so massive, it feels like the system made a mistake. Before 2021, Malaysia's MM2H, Malaysia My Second Home, program required just RM300,000 in fixed deposits. That's about $65,000. For permanent residency in a developed country with world-class healthcare and zero tax on foreign income. The government realized they were giving away too much and restructured it. Now, the premium tier requires RM1 million, about $220,000, but you get even more perks. Full tax exemptions on foreign income, company formation rights, and a pathway to permanent residency that Singapore charges $2.5 million for. But here's the secret wealthy tax planners are exploiting. There's a middle tier at RM600,000, roughly $130,000, that still gives you the residency pathway without the premium tier's income requirements. You can work remotely, run a foreign business, collect dividends, sell crypto, flip real estate. And Malaysia doesn't touch a cent of it, as long as the income originates outside Malaysian borders. A 2024 KPMG study showed Malaysian residents save an average of 31% on their total tax liability compared to Singapore, and 43% compared to Australia. For someone earning $500,000 a year passively, that's $215,000 saved annually. In 5 years, over $1 million kept instead of surrendered. Meet Adriana Volkov, 38 years old. Ukrainian crypto investor who fled Kyiv in March 2022 with $2.3 million in digital assets and her 2 kids. She landed in Malaysia exhausted, terrified, and convinced she'd have to give up 40% to taxes no matter where she settled. That's when her accountant discovered something wild. Malaysia doesn't tax cryptocurrency gains if they're earned outside the country. At all. Adriana now runs a Web3 consulting firm from a co-working space in Bangsar, Kuala Lumpur. Over the past 2 years, She's paid zero capital gains tax on over $800,000 in crypto profits. She told me, tears in her eyes, "I thought I'd lose everything twice, once to the war and once to taxes." Malaysia felt like a cheat code. Like I'd glitched through to a level that wasn't supposed to exist. But even Adriana didn't expect what the Malaysian government would announce in late 2024. An infrastructure explosion that will reshape Southeast Asia forever. Malaysia is building $400 billion in infrastructure projects by 2030. Let me put that in perspective. That's more than Spain's entire GDP. We're talking about a transformation that happens once a century, and it's happening right now. Here's what's coming. Number 1. The Kuala Lumpur-Singapore High-Speed Rail. This will cut the current 6-hour drive between the two cities to just 90 minutes. Completion date? 2026. Imagine living in affordable Malaysia and commuting to work in Singapore's financial district faster than most New Yorkers get to Manhattan. Number 2. Forest City. A $100 billion Chinese-backed smart city designed to house 700,000 people. Vertical gardens, autonomous vehicles, fiber optic everything. It looks like a concept from a sci-fi movie, but you can walk through the finished districts right now. Number 3. The Johor-Singapore Special Economic Zone. Malaysia and Singapore are creating a mega-region with a combined GDP of $680 billion. Think of it like the EU, but hyper-focused, business-friendly, and with near-zero bureaucratic friction. Companies are already relocating headquarters there to access both markets under one operational umbrella. Meet Markus Steinberg, 55 years old. German manufacturing CEO who ran a mid-sized automotive parts company in Munich. The EU energy crisis crushed his margins, electricity costs tripled, gas became a nightmare, and his competitors were moving production to Asia or going bankrupt. Markus relocated his factory to Penang, Malaysia, in 2023. His energy costs dropped by 62%. Labor quality? Identical. Malaysia has a highly educated English-speaking workforce thanks to decades of British influence and tech investment. Markus tripled his profit margins in 1 year. He's now expanding to a second facility and hiring 200 more workers. He told me the hardest part wasn't the move, it was explaining to his board why they hadn't done it sooner. "We were bleeding money because of ideology," he said. "We thought staying in Europe was the right thing to do. Malaysia showed us staying competitive is the right thing to do." And the infrastructure backs this up. The World Bank's 2024 Logistics Performance Index ranked Malaysia number 4 in Asia, ahead of Japan and South Korea, for supply chain efficiency, port quality, and trade infrastructure. Imagine landing in an airport that looks like Dubai, driving on roads smoother than California highways, and paying a third of what you'd pay in London for a penthouse with the same view. That's not a hypothetical. That's Kuala Lumpur in 2025. But there's a problem brewing that could ruin everything. Here's what the visa agents won't tell you, because they want your application fee whether you succeed or not. Malaysia is quietly tightening requirements. The MM2H program gets reviewed every 2 years. Insiders at the Ministry of Tourism are warning that the 2026 changes could raise financial thresholds by 40% or more. Why? Capacity. Demand is overwhelming the system. Malaysian Ministry of Tourism data shows visa processing times jumped from 3 months in 2023 to 7 to 9 months in late 2024. The queue is backing up. And when governments see a program getting abused, or just overly popular, they do one of two things. They raise the price or they kill it entirely. Meet Priya Malhotra, 44 years old. Indian fintech founder who sold her payments app to a U.S. company for $8 million. She heard about Malaysia in early 2024 but kept delaying. "I'll apply next quarter," she kept telling herself. By the time she finally submitted in mid-2024, the requirements changed mid-application. She had to prove an additional RM200,000, about $45,000, that she hadn't budgeted for. It delayed her move by 8 months, cost her $30,000 in expedited legal fees, and nearly derailed the whole plan. She described it to me as watching the door close in slow motion while I scrambled for the handle. But here's what the smart applicants are doing right now. They're pre-qualifying before requirements change. They're using Malaysian relocation specialists, not generic visa agents who handle 50 countries, but experts who only do Malaysia and have direct relationships with the ministry. They're setting up offshore holding companies first for tax optimization, so their income structure is bulletproof before they even apply. David Chen's group? They created a private WhatsApp network of over 200 approved MM2H holders who share real-time intel on policy shifts, the best banks for fixed deposits, which lawyers actually deliver, and which neighborhoods are about to gentrify. It's like an early warning system for millionaire migration. Which brings us to the real reason this is happening now. The reason nobody's saying out loud. Malaysia isn't attracting millionaires by accident. This is a calculated geopolitical chess move to become the Switzerland of Southeast Asia. Here's why that matters. China-US tensions are pushing wealthy individuals toward neutral havens. Malaysia maintains strong diplomatic and trade relations with both superpowers. If you're a Chinese tech millionaire worried about Beijing's crackdowns, or an American investor hedging against domestic instability, Malaysia offers a politically neutral base that doesn't force you to pick sides. Second, the Singapore overflow effect. Singapore property now costs 3 times what Malaysian property does. A luxury condo that's $3 million in Singapore? You'll pay $900,000 for an equivalent in Kuala Lumpur. Wealthy families are being priced out of Singapore and discovering Malaysia offers 80% of the same benefits at 30% of the cost. Third, Middle East diversification. Gulf investors from Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar bought RM18 billion in Malaysian property in 2024 alone. Why? Malaysia is Muslim majority, politically stable, and offers Sharia-compliant banking. For Gulf wealth, it's a cultural and financial perfect fit. According to Knight Frank's 2025 wealth report, Kuala Lumpur property prices are projected to rise 28% by 2027. That sounds like a lot, until you realize it's still 70% cheaper than Singapore. Investors are buying now because they see the gap closing. Picture this. You're sitting in a penthouse in KLCC, the twin Petronas towers glittering outside your floor-to-ceiling windows. It's a view that costs $8 million in New York, $12 million in London. You paid $800,000. David Chen? After he moved, he convinced 8 fellow founders to relocate. Together, they co-invested in a private members club in Mont Kiara, Kuala Lumpur's expat hub. It now has over 300 members, minimum net worth $5 million. They host pitch nights, LP dinners, and founder mixers. Deals are getting done in Kuala Lumpur that used to happen in Palo Alto. David told me something I'll never forget: we're not running away from America. We're running toward optionality. And Malaysia gave us that for a fraction of the cost. My kids go to an international school that's better than the private school in San Francisco. My wife has a private chef 3 days a week. I have a driver, a housekeeper, and I'm still spending 40% less than we did in California. And I'm keeping an extra $3 million a year in tax savings. But here's the wildest part. 40% of new MM2H applicants in 2024 were under 40 years old. This isn't a retirement program anymore. It's a wealth preservation strategy for the digital generation. Remote workers, crypto founders, e-commerce operators, content creators, they're all discovering they can live like royalty in Malaysia while legally paying nothing on their foreign income. Now, you might be thinking, okay, cool, but I'm not a millionaire. Why does this matter to me? Here's why. Where millionaires go, opportunity follows. Malaysia also offers the DE Rantau Digital Nomad Visa. No millionaire requirement, just proof of remote income. You can live in Penang or Kuala Lumpur, work for a US or European company, and cut your living costs by 60%. Startups are raising capital in KL instead of San Francisco because their burn rate is 70% lower. A team of 5 engineers costs $30,000 a month in SF. In Kuala Lumpur, $10,000, same talent level. Watch the property markets. Rental yields in Kuala Lumpur are 5 to 7%, compared to 2 to 3% in most Western cities. If you've got $100,000 to invest, you could buy a condo that generates $500 to $700 a month in passive income. That's enough to cover living expenses if you move there yourself. The wealthy aren't smarter than you. They just have lawyers and accountants who tell them where the doors are before they close. This video? This is me opening that door for you. So here's what I want to know. If you could legally pay zero tax on your investments by relocating, would you do it? Or is there something holding you back that I didn't cover? Drop your country and your biggest concern in the comments. I'm reading every single one, and I'll make a follow-up video answering the top 10 questions. And if you know someone sitting on a startup exit, an inheritance, or investment gains right now, send them this video. It might save them hundreds of thousands in taxes they don't legally need to pay. Oh, and one more thing. There's a second country doing this even more aggressively than Malaysia, but with a 10-year tax holiday instead of exemptions. I'll drop a hint. It's not in Asia. Comment Part 2 if you want me to expose it next week. Because if you thought Malaysia was aggressive, wait until you see what this place is offering. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. Now go read those comments, because the real insights, they're happening down there.